Hi, so welcome to the first global board meeting. This is probably the first time that we have a wider reach. This is the first time that we're having such a bigger group meeting. Usually it's just the North American people and it's kind of like, we're all looking at ourselves and talking about things. But it's usually just at the board, really high level where like, oh yeah, what's the financial stuff and what's the um, all the different things that we need to do. And then now we are actually including like the global regions in part of this conversation because it doesn't make sense to have different tiers of people talking about things that are going to benefit the actual organization and also for all the events that are going to be happening. So welcome. So let me do quick introductions, if that's okay. So this year we have two presidents, it's myself and Andrea. So we will be working together on a lot of things. I think I have a tendency to go all over the place because there's lots of things to do, and she will be my conscience to keep us strategically focused on what needs to be done. I'm based in Los Angeles, and so for me right now it's 6 in the morning. So please ignore me if I start spitting out some nonsense. Tell me to drink some more coffee and keep focused. It's okay. I'm very casual. Andrea, do you want to go next with introductions?
Sure. Thanks for the short introduction, Grace. Yeah, I've taken over with the responsibility for the presidency together with Grace. I'm very grateful that she's, working on this together with me because I think we work together very well. She has like different focus or different things that she's interested in for me, and I think that's a really ideal combination. Yeah, I'm based in Zurich. I used to be a World IADA organizer for, 6 years, and I'll probably still sticking around a bit this year, doing some sponsorship stuff. And I started writing up a roadmap, which Grace expanded. I think we'll go into that in more detail a bit later on in this meeting. And I hope that this will be our main focus for today.
I forgot
Mark,
to do.
will you continue?
Yeah. Hey, everyone. I'm Mark Wolf. I am. This is last year was actually my first time organizing a World IA Day event. I've spoken at two of them in Atlanta, in Clemson, South Carolina, stateside, previously. And last year was the first time I organized in Cincinnati, Ohio, where I've recently relocated. So yeah, it was a great opportunity to get involved with the local UX community, local design community, and excited to see how we can make a really impactful event next year while the world is the way the world is currently. So seeing how we can adapt as a team, I think is really important, and design can bring communities together. So I think that's really cool.
Hi, I'm Paolo. I live in Italy, and in the last year I did an information architect, and I participated in different communities in Italy. Architecta is my main communities, is the Italian Association of Information Architects, and I participate in different World IA Day in Italy and in Switzerland too. The last year I organized the first World IA Day in Italy, and I think it was a very grateful and beautiful event. So I decided to be part of the board to help all of ourselves to connect different idea in the world, different idea of information architect. This is I think my main goal. I start from the Europe, so for now I'm a reference for the Europe to the World IA Day board.
And as Paola mentioned, we actually met in Bologna at the
Yes, also in Bologna.
Information Architecture, the Italian Information Architecture Conference, in a workshop by Dan Klein and Andrew Hinton.
Dan Klein.
That's where we
Yes.
met. And then, yeah, the year after you came to WIAD Zurich.
Yeah.
For those who joined in the middle, we're just going through with introductions. Luis, do you want to go next?
Hello, guys. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Perfect.
Sorry if there's a lot of background noise, but they're doing some stuff on the apartment next door. So nice to meet you. I'm Luis Alvear. I'm from Colombia. I had the opportunity to join the World Information Architecture Day like 30 years ago as a speaker, maybe 2012 and 2013. So I'm excited now to be on the other side and help you guys to run this event and make it bigger in Latin America if possible. So count on me. I'm kind of new in this kind of things like planning events. I did some stuff when I was at college, but so I'm kind of rusted, but count on me on whatever you need. Let me know how can I help you. And thank you for let me be part of this.
Well, thank you for joining.
Allison, do you want to go next?
Hi, everybody. Can everyone hear me well? I was struggling with my connection. Cool.
Yes.
Well, cool. I'm Allison Franklin. I'm involved with the former IAI and WIAD initiatives for quite a long time. My first one was back in Brazil, 2013, if I remember well. Then I got moved to Mexico City. In 2015, we did the first World Information Architecture Day in Mexico City. Next year, we increased the footprint, doing 3 events in 3 different cities, Puebla and Monterrey and Mexico City. In fact, we made an interaction. One of our speakers, which was Christina Wodk, made a talk connecting those 3 cities at the same time remotely. Then I'm working, supporting the initiative, well, since 2015. In 2018, I just observed the community to collect ideas. I participated on the New York event. Then 2019 and 2020, I got back organizing as well. So the idea is, in fact, work with Luis. Hola, hermano. So we can understand a little bit better how we can increase the information architecture in Latin America, doing the same we have on the States as well, you know. And thanks for considering the nomination.
Excited to have you. So this day, you want to go next?
Everybody, I'm like here, but kind of not here because I'm getting ready for work. So my name is Celeste. I am heading up development and finance for WIAD this year. God, I'm like really not with it this morning. And so like I do not have extensive experience organizing for WIAD, but I do have extensive experience doing stuff around fundraising. So that is my principal focus, and I hope to work with all of you in the coming months because it's going to be very, very interesting and fun. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
It is. Okay. All right.
I like that everything's going to be interesting. It's okay. Okay. All right. So, thank you everyone for that. I think this is going to be a very exciting year. Exciting because everything's going to be new and we're all going to be figuring it out together. There's no like playbook to figure out like how exactly we're going to do this. No one's I'm sure there are other organizations that are trying to do the same thing too. But for World Day, we kind of try to do it grassroots way. So we have to figure out how to connect all the locations together. So I'm glad that there are those of you who have done connected locations before. We're going to need a lot of that experience this year. So in addition to that, we had some workshops earlier this year in June to talk about what is the future of World IA Day going to be like. And part of that came out, we started thinking about, okay, so what does it mean now that the IEI Institute is gone? Like what do we need to do? What does the community want from World IA Day? And what is it, the role that we want to play in this community? And so we asked all of you, so there's a lot of organizers who participated in that from all over the world. We also include Euro IA conference chairs, as well as IAC conference chairs to help think about that, as well as other people in the community who have been around to help shape the field of information architecture. And so we came up with a rough idea of what that roadmap would be, right? So that roadmap is not just for next year, but it's also for like the next couple of years. I don't know how long it's going to take. And so we want to spend the next couple 20 minutes or so to really to talk about that. Andrea, do you have the vision and the roadmap up on your screen? Would you mind? Or I could find it. I'm also going to put this link in the chat so you guys can all check this out at your own pace. And then sweet. Okay, cool. If you could zoom in a lot bigger, that would be great. Thank you. Okay. So we.
Sorry, I wasn't muted. Is this the document that you sent the link to?
Yes.
Okay, good, great.
Yes. So if you take a quick look, there is a bulleted list of where we kind of want to go through. So the first paragraph is really about, that we trying to do things and we're open to failure and we want to.
Is this the introduction or what are you talking about?
Yes, that's the introduction. Yeah. And then most importantly is the bullet points down below where we, like for next year, for 2021, we want to make sure that we continue creating like supporting the local locations. And then at the same time, though, what might be interesting is actually creating a global track as well. So thinking that maybe this would be where we could collaborate with all the different locations and we can fill up, the 24 hours in that day to pull in content as part of the global track. At the same time, though, it might make sense that maybe so the local locations might want to have their own program and they're free to create a longer day or just have short talks or whatever. But this would be one way that we could connect all the locations together throughout the day. Because in the past, it's like, each location has their own thing. More or less, some locations are better at collaborating than others. And so this would be one way that we can bring all the locations together and have more of a curated content. So it's kind of like a mini conference for that one day.
I really love this. I think that idea is really awesome. Like a 24-hour, like I could imagine a lot of like local like shops and restaurants wanting to participate. Like, hey, be open 24 hours a day. People can come and go. Like, I could see a lot of interest in that. I think that's a really cool idea. That's all. Me adding no value at all.
No, that's good because I was afraid that, this is kind of overstretching. Like, what are we doing? Um, so one important things that we want to get out of this is that we want to present different types of IA, right? So in the past, it's been very, all the World IA locations, it's very North American centric. There's like at least more than 50% of locations happen to be North America. And like over the years, we've been getting growing presence in Latin America and Europe. So we get like 20 or so different locations in Europe, 20 or so locations in Latin America. And this is great. We want to make sure that those voices are included and promoted more. And so hoping this would be one way that we can elevate all of the voices in there. At the same time though, bring different perspectives around what IA means to those different areas, so that we can have a broader perspective on what it means in different areas. I might have just rambled and repeat myself. And then hopefully maybe that means like, okay, right now we're just one day a year, but eventually it will be great if we can bring this to something that we can promote over the year. So it could be maybe we do IA roundtable talks every quarter, or maybe we do bring in some more connections and collaboration with Euro IA and the IA conference, as well as any other IA conferences that are out there that we don't know about yet. So hopefully this means that we can do more promotion, collaboration between different other events, creating more synergy with industry partners, so we can bring actually projects and other things like that. But that's part of the bigger picture, what that could look like. And so the Airtable link that's in that document.
Wait a minute before we go to the Airtable, maybe just to summarize it. Oh, thanks a lot for explaining everything. Like the first 4 bullet points, that's the general idea for 2021. So I think it's a pretty ambitious program that we have, but it's also, at least I think this, and what I've heard from the other board members I've talked to so far, it's also motivating because we are going to create something that we've been wanting to have for a long time, but we didn't really manage to achieve. And also there should be a lot of synergies, also enabling like smaller locations to do something and still benefit from what the other the larger, more experienced locations have been doing. And there are a lot of ideas and which have been expressed during the workshops on the general direction where people would like to go. And we've sort of tried to focus on getting the event 2021 up and running for next year without doing too much. I mean, it's enough already that we're trying to achieve. So we want to have this on the midterm roadmap, and also we want to encourage everyone who is willing to work on this to participate. But we also sort of need to figure out or sort it out what is Global going to provide and what do we expect from the locations, and how can we help locations work with us and work together. Yeah, Grace. And we've already talked about the bullet points earlier in a smaller board meeting. I just added this 4th point, continuing to be a volunteer-driven and inclusive event, because I find that's quite important for the understanding of World IA Day. Mm-hmm. Also in terms of financial discussions, are we going to continue being a free or as free as possible event, or are we actually going to ask for money for content? So I think that's an important prerogative that we're clear on, that we have a mutual understanding of that.
Mm-hmm. I think it's important for us to continue being a free or low cost event. So if people want to donate to help support the infrastructure that's necessary to create this more inclusive event, that's great. But I don't think that is a requirement. So I think it's going to be very important for the global team to help figure out sponsorship and donations from different companies to help support it. Which also means we'll need to figure out how to create a sponsorship deck that kind of can be used. And then also to actually look at different event platforms. So there's Vito, community, there's Hopkin, there's Crowdcast. Those all require money, or we can also make use of Discord and Twitch and YouTube and grow the free route. But then that's also a lot more coordination that's required as well. So there's lots of different possibilities. We just need to figure out how we want to do it and what is the best experience that we can provide to our attendees as well as to our organizers. The Airtable link is there if you want to go and look at other more detailed stuff, but we don't necessarily have to go into that right now because it does have.
Can you see it?
Sorry, yeah.
I resorted it a bit. I added a few items, Grace. I do think it'll be an important working tool for us because now we've put in all of the detail, sort of a more detailed roadmap. So we have a lot of tasks. They've been prioritized, they've been categorized, and I think we need to assign people and dates to them rather soon so that we can, we can divide the work and get on quickly with our ambitious program. So I think that's quite important as a working tool.
Mm-hmm.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I don't want to add only an idea, because the next year will be different from the others year, and I think that your programs, our programs,
Mm-hmm.
It's a good idea. It's a good blueprint to create all the events around the world. But for me, this is the first time probably we need to feel all the to listen and to feel all the local promoter, as I am, if they are wondering how they want or they think to run their events. Because I think that more people are wondering about how can I promote, how can I run my events? And the global track is a very good idea. And I think it's the first one the World IAD board are introducing an action around all the events. A central action, a central event, as I said. So my suggestion is to talk about these ideas. I think they are very good, ideas, but also to promote a discussion and to listen all the organizer to feel free, these people to express their doubts, their ideas, how they want or they feel to create their events, their local events. I don't know if I'm adding something different about you, but I would only express my think about the relationship between the board and all the organizers around the world?
I think it's an absolutely central question you're posing here. And I think in terms of communication, it's really important, and it's also a goal that we get a consensus on that quite quickly, how we do this communication. I mean, on the one hand, I think the global board needs to sort of provide some security or how should I say, show the local organizers that we're here to support them. But also, as you said, pick up what their ideas are, what their concerns are, and have a dialogue on that. And I think also that a lot of organizers, they do have a lot of experience, they do have good ideas, and it would be interesting to have an exchange and have other people benefit from this. And I think we need to find a format where we can do this, maybe going a bit more into depth than just having chats on Discord.
Mm-hmm.
I try to, in this particular moment, I think I can give some energy to create a discussion in Italy, absolutely, but also in Europe. So I try to collect all the organizer and try to promote a discussion with our local subgroup. So I think the other in the board can promote discussion in the other part of the world.
Yeah, I think that's the most important next step too, is try to reach out to the people who are interested in organizing next year, and to have those conversations. Right now, all I've done is I've sent out welcome kit emails to all the organizers, and as a board, you all have access to the list of the people who have signed up so far. So you can see that, as well as you can see who has joined Discord. So you can do both. You can email all of those local organizers directly that are part of your region, or you could somehow reach out to people that are interested in organizing, and really talk about those questions that you pose. I think it's really important to make sure that we can support them in how they want to approach next year.
Is that list on Discord?
That list is not on Discord. And if you should have access to it. Not yet. Invite by link, copy. Right. Posting a link in the chat. This should give you access to all of the Airtables that are available for this year. So there's a project management Airtable, the locations. I think there's like 15 or 16 locations that have signed up. I also have an Airtable for all the themes that have been submitted for this year, and also from previous years that we'll need to figure out the theme for next year. And then there's that roadmap, so you all have access to add notes to it and think about those things too. Andrea, should we talk about the theme next?
Definitely, because I think what we need to communicate next is the roadmap and the theme, and I hope that.
Andrea, I can't hear you.
Will be doing.
Sorry, could you say that again? You cut out a little bit for me.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Communicate our on the one hand, the roadmap, on the other hand, the theme, and then the next steps from our side and what we think that location should be doing as the next steps. So yeah, I think we should talk about the theme.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys can see it on your screen, and then I'm also sharing it here as well. What we have here is we have all of the themes that we received in previous years. So we had a lot that was suggested in 2018, 19, and also for this year. This for 2021, we had only 6 themes submitted. So we could take a look at that. At the same time, if we want to, we can also bring in some of the previous ones to see if there's any value in bringing some of those things out. Like on your own, you should be able to click into and show details out of all of these things. So for instance, one thing about curiosity, description, why it's important, and the context was like, well, this is something that was brought in from the most recent IA conference that happened a couple months ago, right? And then this is another one that was promoted, suggested. It's about IA for internal audiences. And we don't really have to decide on one right now. We just need to review it together. And then I think one next step is that, well, we can narrow down, we can vote on these things. We can also open it up to a vote to all of the organizers for them to see it. We can also share this list with the IA elders in the community. So previous organizers, global executive producers, and other people in the community who have been watching over us.
I don't know. I'm not quite sure how democratic we need to be about the theme. Let me be very frank here. I'm the one who submitted the curiosity theme because I thought Cassini Nazir's talk at the American, what's it, the Information Architecture Conference, the American one, it was brilliant. And curiosity is really a way of sort of reframing the understanding theme with a slightly different twitch. And I think is also very fitting with the current situation because we all need to be so flexible. We need to discover new stuff. We need to try out things. So that's why I would love to have that as a theme. Of course, if you all prefer other themes, I'm very happy to go with another one. But I don't necessarily think that we need to open up this discussion. I would actually prefer to do it in the board. Maybe if we're not able to get a consensus, maybe also involve some other people. But I'd rather have a new theme quickly so that we can communicate it. I think it's in my experience for the local organizers, that helps a lot to have a theme early.
Yeah. And to be honest, the approach that we did in the past has been very haphazard as well. So sometimes we had a vote with all the organizers, sometimes we didn't. I was just open up to like there different ways that we can approach this. And I'm also of the mind that we should probably decide on something sooner than later.
But maybe we can just open the round on the one hand on how to proceed, and on the other hand, if you have any themes that you find would be interesting to go into more detail.
I have a question. What is the ETA, the deadline to come up with a team. I mean, I agree with Andrea that we could, go on the board and continue the discussion. And honestly, I also agree that, I mean, we are doing it democratically, and I strongly believe that selecting one of those teams or even another one will not be an issue like someone is selecting without going with the group per se. But do we have a deadline to come up with the team so we can understand how deep we should go in this discussion before, giving a decision for the whole group?
Mm-hmm. We can create a deadline for the end of the month.
That's great. I mean, I also believe the sooner the better. And I really like Andrea's team as well, because we usually face a lot of misunderstanding about the practice. And depending the way we articulate curiosity, could be an invitation to, unveil another layers from information architecture and bring different aspects of the practice, so we can make the practitioners understand that we go way beyond.
So we can't hear you anymore. Are you guys able to hear him too?
Nope,
Or is this
he's
me?
frozen.
I'm back. Sorry, I was struggling with the web as well. But I mean, I strongly believe that curiosity could work like a charm for our plans, because we can start this reframing, inviting people to explore, and understanding IA is much more has much more broader spectrum than most of people believe. And then we can identify opportunities to, segment the practice a little bit more if it's necessary. So, I mean, at least seeing the content, if it's the sooner the better, we have like 17 days. At least initially, I go with curiosity as well.
Any other thoughts, votes, questions?
So, and I really don't have an opinion on this one way or the other, but so with curiosity, are we gaining, it sounds like we're gaining at least like a talk that's already been established. So some of this work has already been done on this particular theme.
Well, obviously, I think that if we would go with this theme, then we would ask Cassini if he would do a talk on that, because he's working on the topic. I think he wants to write a book about it. So yeah, we would have our first keynote speaker for the global program. I'm not quite sure how strongly we should sort of approach potential keynote speakers from a global perspective, because on the one hand, it would be easy for us to do it, I think, and I think we could have like a basis where we could have some really good speakers and attractive talks. On the other hand, it might also be like a bit of a competition against locations who approach those speakers. So I think that's something that we need to discuss here.
Mm-hmm.
I am fine with curiosity, as long as we can nail down precisely how much he's going to cost for a global honorarium versus for a local honorarium. And then I think as soon as that can get decided, then it doesn't necessarily become a decision as much as a reveal that our theme will be around curiosity, that we're so excited and honored that Cassini will be delivering our first annual global keynote, and we're also excited to be sharing the keynotes from each of the individual locations. And I think that's exactly the terms that we should roll it out, rather than saying, rather than making it competitive without necessarily having to do that. Just kind of have it as a pretty package so people can just get psyched that it's coming.
Wow, I wasn't even thinking about honorariums, but it's a good idea.
We have to lure the fish somehow.
Besides the global.
Well, I've told this story before, so a lot of you might have heard it already, but still, the first World IA Day, my colleague Fabienne and I organized here in Switzerland. It was in 2015, and we didn't really know whom to ask as speakers. So we sort of started thinking, and we thought, Peter Morville is famous, and Andrea Resmini, we know him, or we've heard of him. So we sent out emails to those two and thought, well, we'll probably never hear back. And they both said they would be coming. So, and then we had that pressure to put up an event, but it was also really helpful to have those big names to attract, on the one hand, attendees, and on the other hand, also for the sponsorship, because we could say, hey, we have these world-class people talking here, and it helps. So yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Celeste.
Mm-hmm. I don't think we'll have trouble asking Abby Cover, Dan Klein, Cassini, and Peter Morville to help us in this respect. I think they're big advocates for World IA Day. So I think if we propose the theme and ask if they would be interested in speak, they would gladly do so in some way or another. At the same time, though, I also feel that we need to first draft a shareable theme description and also have it translated and actually have that ready by the end of the month. So I can put the theme in a Google document, and then we could expand on it if we want to, and then have it in a way that is more shareable form. And then start that process if we are more or less aligned with using curiosity as our theme for next year.
Well, I don't think we need to take the final decision now. I think everyone should have the chance to review the other themes and think about it. I don't really want to put any pressure on you here.
Okay. So I would say we can have a week thinking about it. Okay. Because then we could have a chance to talk with the other board members who aren't able to join today.
That makes sense. And I was saying before that I would like to have communication going out on different topics at once. Do you agree with that? That we would sort of publish the roadmap plus the theme plus the next steps all in one email or whatever it is?
Mm-hmm. I'm on board with that. So I don't want to.
So it would be end of August for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be.
I think that's fair enough. That still leaves everyone enough time.
Mm-hmm. And so the vision, the roadmap, and then the addition of the theme, once we've decided on one, will be in that Google Doc that was first shared.
So if we have a week, can we just decide right now how exactly we're going to vote during the process of that week? Will it be within the board channel on Discord? Will we just like pin a, what is it, a poll? Like whatever it is, can we just, before we move on to anything else, so we can make sure that we all know where to go do that thing without having to schedule another meeting. Not that I don't want to see your beautiful faces, but you know how it is.
I will post a poll link on Discord as well as through email. And then we'll have it set for, we decide by Thursday next week.
Okay, and shall we do it like everyone gets like 6 votes and you can distribute them amongst different themes the way you like, or what was your idea about the how we should do the poll? Or is it just one theme that you vote for?
Usually the polls only allow you to have only one vote, unless we use something else, another mechanism to arrange that. If everyone has 6 votes, then
It's like, you know, when you put the dots on the post-its, it's like more that.
do we want to? We could do that. Yeah, we can do that. Everyone has 6 dots.
Okay.
Okay. I'll set that up. Okay. So we have about 10 minutes.
Yeah. Grace, I have
Yes.
a question. I know we have only 10 minutes. We even can talk this, you know, offline on Discord as well. I'm seeing on Airtable activities across our website. We were talking about, you know, doing the WIAD more than once, sort of speak, roundtable talks, monthly, bi-monthly basis or something like that. But thinking about a backbone where we can, you know, centralize the information in the discussion. The activities we are doing on the website are considering something like, you know, a network of, you know, subsidiary websites like we usually have with the locations, because thinking on the activities we can do across the year, even maybe, you know, if we're talking about curiosity as a team, IA Jam, it's really good one, for instance, as well as I'm seeing. We could use the website as this backbone where we can centralize and maybe doing this satellite events across the year. But what is the state of this website review and how we can help you guys? Because I know you're probably getting crazy with Drupal at this point.
Oh my God, the discussions about the website. It's killing me. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure, and I think I need you guys to help me figure that out. Because one, we need to have a good structure so that we can actually build something over time, right? Because you know, we've looked at the website year after year, and in the first 5-6 years of World IA Day, we had to create a new one for each year, and then just recently, in the past 2 years, we put it all together in one. But the editing interface is horrible. Not horrible. It's very difficult to use. It's not flexible. It's not localized. The talks, the archive that we have, it's not doesn't support all the different formats, right? It's only supporting YouTube and SideShare, and not everybody uses those 2 things. So like, how should we do this? I mean, we should probably do it in phases. I feel like if there's a suggestion that you have, please just add to the charter document that's on Discord about the website. Please bring that up in the channel so that there's a broader area of people who can do that. I don't know if we have the funds for a bigger effort. And even if we do have a bigger effort, is it something that we want to take on right now? Because we do want to make sure that we do have an event platform that can be used and it's usable to have people to join for just even 2021, right?
Yep.
So there's a priority here in terms of what exactly we want to have more focus on.
I think your experience from Global is very similar to the experience we had in Zurich with the website. It's really important to have a good website, but it's so annoying. It takes so much time and effort and everything. So it's really also a question of energy. But what I would like to suggest, I mean, Grace, you put up that Airtable with all of those different tasks. Would it be a possibility that we would put the redesign or whatever of the website as a task there as well, and that every one of you go through the Airtable and sort of sign up for the things that you would be interested in participating. So then we could also sort of have smaller teams doing those discussions in more depth, because I don't think as a board we have the possibility to talk about everything.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It is in there as a project, and so you can see that there's a number of things in there that I have assigned to myself. But if you can help take things off my plate, or we can work on things together, you know, please add yourself. I don't think like this can have multiple collaborators. So, and you can see that there's a lot of stuff in here that we can potentially do and take over.
Okay.
I mean, for me, it feels like the website is not a single year, this happens this year project, in part because of all the work that's going to need to be shifted over to make this into a global event. And that's probably a good thing, because as WIAD, we should probably actually think about the structure and what content we're going to have on this site. So it may be, I mean, it just a suggestion, it may be one of those things where the committee for this is formed very early this year. And like the conversation is starting, and we're really starting to think about what's, like, as we're organizing, what sorts of things are going to need to be housed as part of this site, rather than trying to do it the other way around of thinking like retroactively about what we have or what might be, or what, you know, what's not there. And then that should like inform like where the site goes for the future. And then we just make updates for this site, just so that we can at least get something out there without the added stress of having to like divide and conquer everything. Because there's only so many of us, and between like work and school and everything else, I don't want people getting burnt out.
Yeah. So I'm adding the content model that we have into the Airtable as well, so you can see what it means for that. And then we also have a working sitemap, of course, that has been in progress as well. So you can see that there's some things in here that we could start thinking in terms of structure. And hopefully this means we can nail this down a little bit more. So yeah, if you could, you know, assign yourself as being a part of that committee who wants to lead that part. There are also people who are not on the board who are also interested in helping out as well. So this is not something where like, oh, you're the only person working on this. We're interested.
Okay.
Yeah. So all of the documents that are listed in their table, those are all open for commenting. So if you want to go in there, edit, or you want to actually edit directly, go ahead. We just want to make it work. Let's not.
And it's really easy to add items. I tried it this morning.
Yeah. And then if you feel like there's other projects that aren't already listed in here that should be on here, add it. We'll talk about it in the next board meeting, or we can talk about it on Discord. Whatever your heart desires. Let's figure it out. So I think that is essentially most of the things that we needed to talk about. Like the website, there's this state of IA survey that, you know, is also assigned to me, but we could probably talk about that another day. IA Roundtable, IA Slam, those are things that may or may not happen. I'm speaking with the IA Roundtable people later this week to figure out like what their capacity is like. I think in terms of World IA Day, we just want to be like a marketing and promotion. If it's something that they were interested in doing, then we can help promote it, but it's not something that we would, you know, create our own. IA Slam is an idea that we might do to create some synergy between World IA Day. So it might be like a slot where we have some judges, and we already have an IA Slam team that was part of the IA conference. So if they want to, create an imaginary project, and then we can help create some teams for them to join, and to do that, we can help provide logistics around it. And maybe, that could be something that could tie into scholarship to the IA conference. And then later this month, we'll be able to have, all of us will have access to the Google Suite for nonprofits. So we'll all have a World IA Day email address that we can use. That way, when you reach out to potential people, companies, speakers, or whatever, there's more backing with the brand. I think that is it. Questions?
Great.
Anything else? Is there anything else that I missed?
No.
Anything you want to talk about?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Grace. This is I'm excited to be part of it. I have to hop to another meeting, but
Okay.
this is great. Thank you, guys. Excited to be a part of the team.
Bye. Nice to meet
Thanks.
you.
I'm thrilled that we have such a large team and that you're so energetic. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Grace and Andrea, for your work, and thank you for everyone. I'm very happy to be part of this board.
Bye. Thank you. See you soon.
See you
Bye.
soon.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Ti sentiamo.
Ciao.
Bye. Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.